So I wanted to do a quick demonstration of Gradescope. For those of you that have not used this before, it is a system for setting up an online class and collecting or creating assignments and collecting assignment submissions from students, and then also uh, grading the assignments, keeping track of the grades, and then also sending feedback to students. I like it personally because you can include uh, feedback per problem, and you can also include mathematical markup notation in the feedback. So it's really nice for math courses. What I'll try to show today is what it looks like from the instructor's perspective, how to make a course and create an assignment, and how to let students enroll, and then also separately what it looks like from the students' end, how they upload assignment submissions, and what feedback looks like. So I will go ahead and log in with my instructor account first. I have two separate accounts, one is an instructor and one is a student. So we'll start with the instructor account. So you would end up at this dashboard here. The thing you would want to do is create a new course. Here we will give it whatever kind of name, some kind of description, and what's very important is to actually click this box that for entry codes. It says allow students to enroll via course entry code. Once you do that, let's see here. You'll be taken to this page, which is like a dashboard for this particular course. And in the upper right hand corner, you will get an entry code. And this is the code that you will be sending to students in order for them to enroll in the course. The idea is they just have to make an account on Gradescope.com. They do not need to log on with their single sign-on or University of Georgia email or anything like that, although I guess that is potentially an option. But if they just have any email address, they can create an account and enter the course code to join your course. But with that in mind, I'll show you how to create an assignment. Normally, if you had multiple assignments already out, you would have some list of them here. But since there's nothing here, we can just create a new one. There are multiple types of assignments you can create. I have not experimented with many of these, but the one I do have experience with is this homework problem set option, which I've found to be adequate for 95% of like math-related assignments. So once you select that, you can give the assignment a name. It'll ask for a template PDF. So I've gone and found some random problem set on Google, which I will use as a demonstration. For this option, you'll want to make sure that student is checked. Students can upload submissions. For the release date, you can sort of set it to be whenever. We'll set it to be yesterday. So that way it's actually available to us. What's nice about this is that you can sit out at the beginning of a week or a month or a semester or whatever and just upload all of the assignments and have them all released on certain days in the future. And then you set due dates for them as well, so maybe several days at some time. And you can choose whether or not to allow late submissions. For the submission types, I have just used this variable length option. The idea here is that students will upload a number of, or either a PDF or a number of images with their work on it. And for example, if your assignment has 6 questions and maybe the first question is broken out into 3 parts, A, B, and C, then on their side they will indicate where their work for, problem 1, part A is, like what pages their work is on. And, problem 1, part B will be a separate, they'll pick the pages that work is on. So it's a little bit of work on their side to indicate where their solutions are. There's this other option, templated worksheets. I have not used this, but this may be somewhat useful to those of you that are teaching pre-calculus or calculus where the worksheets are already created. I think the idea here is that the PDF or the worksheet they have already has some sort of like fixed space, fixed white space, in which the students are expected to show their work or display their answer or whatever. And I think the idea here is that when they go to upload, they don't have to do this choosing process of showing where their work for 1A or 1B is. It's just always in the same place because everybody has the same PDF worksheet. So that may be worth experimenting with, but for now I'll do the variable length one. And this last option is you can let students work in groups if you'd like, and I'm not quite sure how that feature works, but maybe I'll just skip that for this one and just create sort of the baseline assignment. So then you'll be taken to this screen, and what it wants you to do here, well, so here on the left is the PDF template that I've uploaded, and on the right it's asking for us to indicate what the structure of this assignment is, namely like what like how many questions there are, what the point values are, how the questions are broken down, that kind of thing. So maybe I'll just show how one or two of these, like how to set up one or two of these, and then I'll fast forward through the rest. The idea here is, so maybe I'll hit new question. This is going to be problem 1. And then I think in this PDF, problem 1 is broken into 3 parts, A, B, and C. So I'll just hit the plus sign over here 3 times. Do part A. You can just hit tab to move between these. According to the assignment, that's worth 2 points. There is a part B that is also worth 2 points. And there is a part C that is worth 3 points. So you assign the points based on the sub parts of the problem, and it adds up the total number of points for the problem in the main heading here. Okay, so I think that's it for problem 1. Then you just hit new question. Now it gives you something for problem 2, for example. And it looks like, scroll down here, problem 2 is just 1 part worth 6 points. So I'll do that. And no subparts, so I'll just hit new question. Now I'm on problem 3, so on and so forth. So I will go ahead and fast forward through the rest of creating this. Okay, so I have completed the outline for this sample assignment. You can see on the right hand side here the problems are all listed out with point values, and in real time I think that took maybe 2 or 3 minutes at most, not too bad. So once you have this, you can just go ahead and save the outline, and from the instructor's perspective, this is essentially all that needs to be done at this point, until the grading. So from here, maybe it's worth taking a look at like what the student submissions will end up looking like. So you can see once you log back into the course dashboard, it now has one active assignment out. It shows you when it was released, when it's due, kind of this progress bar, how far between those 2 dates you are. But important for us, we'll need this entry code. So I will grab this and log in as a student and add the course. So I'll try this. Okay, so for my student account, I think I just have it set up through Google. And okay, so I'm logged in as a student. This is the dashboard I'll see with all of my courses separated out by year. What I will have to do is add a course. I'll leave a course code. And once you've done that, then you have it in your dashboard. So now I can go to that course, and all of the assignments that are out and are not due yet will be listed here, and I can make a submission for those. So I will go ahead and submit a PDF for this one, and for simplicity I'll just submit the same PDF. So I upload that PDF, and so this is the selection process of where the students will show you where their work is. So on the left hand side we have the outline of the entire problem set, which was created by the instructor, and the student's responsibility is to indicate where their work is per sub-part of a problem. So here I want to indicate where is my work for 1 part A. I think it's on maybe page 1, but I can zoom in and see. So here is problem 1, here's part A, here's a solution. It starts on page 1, ends on page 1, so I guess I'm good just selecting page 1 there. And you can see page 1 is highlighted now under part A on the left. So I can go to part B now, and it looks to me like part of, oh no, all of part B is on page 1 as well, so I can do that. Part C, it looks like starts on page 1, perhaps continues on page 2, and ends there. So just do that. And so on and so forth. I will go ahead and fast forward through. Okay, so after I have indicated where all of the work by problem is, what pages the work for each problem is on, I will go ahead and submit. And from the student's point of view, that is it. That is all they have to do. And they'll see this like grading rubric off to the side. We'll see a little bit later, this is where the feedback by part will be displayed. And they have the option to resubmit up until the submission date. And it actually just replaces their submission outright, which is really nice. Okay, so now I will go ahead and log back in as the instructor to look at the submission and try providing feedback on one part of it. Right, so the idea here is that from this previous page, it now sort of assumes that you're in grading mode. So once you're in assignment 1, I can choose to go through and grade, say, all of the problem 1 part A's all together. And so if there are multiple students, 30 students or something, when I click this part A, it will give me all of the 1.1 part A's of each student in succession. So I can grade this student's part 1A, I'll hit next ungraded, it'll go to the next student's part 1A, and makes it pretty efficient to do that kind of grading. Right, and so how does the grading go? The point total essentially starts at 2. I think there are ways to modify this. I think I'm using subtractive scoring of some kind here, so they start out with full points, and then the idea is that you can subtract off points or add in points sort of at will, depending on sort of what kind of errors they have. So maybe, I don't know, if let's say that they're doing some kind of partial fractions in part A, and maybe they got the number wrong or something, so maybe I'll take off 1 point, and I'll describe this as incorrect partial fraction decomposition. And so it's worth noting that these rubric items will be persistent. So if you create one, this is now an option for all of the rest of the students. The students don't see this unless you select it. So for example, if they got this problem right, I would just hit correct, and that would give them the full 2 out of 2. If they did not get it right, and say this student had this one error, then I would just hit this 2 next to it to indicate that this is the point modification I'm making, and this is the description the student will see for why they lost that point. And so maybe you could have some other algebra error or something like that, and maybe that's minus half point or something. And I don't know if the students see this full rubric, unless they specifically, if they got this algebra error and the incorrect PFD, then they would see both of these items. But if they only got this incorrect PFD, then that's the only rubric item they would see, I think. So we can probably see that once we go to the student's side. What's really nice though is that you can put comments. So these comments will be for this specific submission for this specific student. So this will be a comment attached to this student's submission for part or 1.1 part A. So maybe I'll say something, and this box supports mathematical notation, which is really nice. Let's see, maybe in the decomposition, so you have to use $2 to do math mode here. Frac A over 1 plus X equals C dots. You got A equals 1 instead of A equals 1/2. Okay. And what's really nice here too is that you can see underneath this, there's this apply previously used comments. So once you make this, it's sort of saved into a list. And if students are making the same mistake, so if there's like a very common mistake for a problem or something, then you can just sort of type up the feedback and then reuse it later on. Makes things a little bit nicer. Okay, so you do next ungraded. This would take you potentially to the next student's submission for part 1A. But what I will do now is just run through and grade this one assignment completely so we can look at what the student sees in their feedback. And I'll fast forward through this. Okay, so maybe I didn't mention it there, but you can also run through one. So one way to grade things is just to run through every student's submission for 1.1 Part A and do all of those in order, but you can also just run through one student's entire submission by hitting, I think, period on the keyboard. It just goes through all of their questions. But once you have that done, I should maybe note here too that if you have like multiple TAs for some reason, it'll track, or like a TA and an instructor, it'll track who graded which assignment or which submission. Okay, so once you do this, you can just hit review grades, and you can kind of get an overview, some nice sort of statistical properties about what students, point distributions looks like. And yeah, so here I can see that this student got a score of 46 out of 47. The median was 46, of course, because there's only one student. It's completely graded. They haven't viewed it or anything like that. And this right now is still internal to the system. So the student won't see any of the work that we've done on their grading until we go down here to hit publish grades. So you can view this at any time to get an idea of what the students are like how they're doing on the problem set. Once you have sort of everybody's grading done, you can just hit publish grades. And you see a little thing up here that says now grades are published. And I think that's it for this. So I guess there's an option to unpublish grades if necessary. Okay, so I will now log in as the student so we can see what the feedback looks like. So I will go to assignment 1. And you can see off to the right hand side here, now that it's graded, we have this outline for the assignment with now the score that we got on each part. And it highlights where we missed points. So for example, for part A, we missed 1 point for some reason, so we'll just click that. And we get the broken down sort of reason. Okay, so I guess they do see the full rubric for it, and it highlights which piece of the rubric they missed. And then keep in mind too, this rubric is something we can make on the fly in terms of like how many points are subtracted for what kind of errors. And then there's the feedback. You can see it's rendered nicely in math mode. And that's it. The only thing worth noting here, and then off to the left too, this is a copy of their submission. So when you click problem 5 part A, it takes you to that page where they've indicated that they've shown their work. Right, so the last thing here to note is that until and maybe this is an option you can turn off or on as you wish, but there's some request re-rating option down here for that, so you can actually put in a comment to the instructor to say, if they gave you this feedback that, oh, this thing was wrong, they can say, oh, in part 1.1a, I think this was graded incorrectly, or maybe there was a mistake or whatever. Do that, and that sends an email to or sends a notification to the TAs or the instructor. Right, so I think that is it. If you guys have any questions about this kind of just the stuff that I've gone through here, feel free to let me know. Good luck.